welcome back to the Marketing Boost. Today I have Matthew Kanakidis. I think I said that right?
Yep.
Okay, cool. You are the co-founder and the CEO of RentBamboo.
Yep. So RentBamboo, I'm the co-founder and CEO. So we make AI agents for property management companies, really trying to help them scale their leasing operations without hiring more staff.
Okay, so AI agents, super fun, I think a little buzzy of a term. Can you break it down? Like what is it kind of doing?
Yeah, so we are essentially a CRM that pairs with their main property database. Okay. And from there, we really ingest all of the leads reaching out from Zillow, apartments.com, trying to reach out for an apartment, organize all of that inside of a nice, clean CRM. And then we layer in AI agents around leasing, marketing, lead generation to help them grow more efficiently.
Okay, and then that seems like a market that traditionally isn't super tech forward. Whenever I would rent an apartment, like everything was a little archaic. Go get a money order, do something like that. Like, how did you find that this was a market, and also how did you get into it?
Yeah, so we actually started off with a app. So we were making a apartment marketplace for college students. And so we were doing that for roughly about a year. I was scammed for an apartment near UTSA. And I really wanted a more transparent leasing process. And so Axel and I, my co-founder, we created this app. It was similar to Tinder, like that swipe style for apartments, only for college students. There was like a little AI widget.
Got a little Facebook to you?
Exactly, yeah. It was a little AI widget where they could ask questions about the property management company, about the apartment, the reviews, and everything like that. And so we did great on the supply side. A bunch of apartments wanted to onboard with us. We had about 97% of UTSA student housing onboarded. The issue
that's an impressive early founder stuff.
Yeah, I appreciate that, but the issue with marketplaces is that it's two sides, and so we couldn't generate any demand on the renter side. College students, I feel like they know where they want to live from their friends, from driving around campus.
Parents,
exactly,
dictating where they're gonna spend their money.
100%, and they don't need Zillow, apartments.com. They kind of just know from the resources at the school and just driving around where they want to live. And so we quickly just kept talking to management companies saying, what is the issue you're dealing with? Because they wanted to be on this app. And really what we found was it wasn't the exposure side. It was more so dealing with all of the exposure these apartments were getting, qualifying all of the leads, putting them in a clean standard process and really automating it from there. And so that's really how we found that, this was something that we do need to work on. We feel like there's a massive issue in the industry in turnover, lead response time. And so, we just dove in head first and made that pivot to build that leasing software.
That is an impressive story. I also like that from a problem that you had, you found a solution. I think oftentimes the best founders solve their own problems. That's always a cool part. But the part that I want to dig on is, you said that you were talking to all these leasing companies. Like, how did you get to them? Did you do some marketing? Did you show up and knock on their door? Like, what was kind of that progression out there?
Yeah, so it was a lot of cold calling. So we would just call apartments. Most of the time they're always going to answer. They want to lease up their property. And so we would just call them, ask if they'd want more exposure to be on the app. Of course, we'd onboard them that way. And then we always have that kind of connection from them wanting to see the visibility, the analytics from our app. But of course, it wasn't the best analytics because we didn't have the demand side done. And so that's really kind of what led us down that path.
Okay. You have a co-founder? Are one of you guys technical, one of you not technical? Like what's kind of the dynamic at the moment?
Yeah, so I'm not technical. My co-founder is. I really help a lot on the product as well. So a lot of our mock-ups, a lot of our early prototypes are all done by me. And then kind of Axel will put his spin on it, polish it up and make it usable in a way. And so, I kind of handle all sales, marketing, and everything like that.
Okay, I like the duo. I always think having one technical person dive in gives somebody else a really good time to kind of market. Also, there's somebody to hold each other accountable. Like, hey, why is the product not working? Hey, why is the marketing not working?
Exactly.
So you're handling all the sales, all the marketing. What does that look like? This is I'd call it a B2B play. Is it more cold calling? Like, what's the marketing stuff that you are looking and digging on?
Yeah, so we did cold calling for a while, and it does work, but what we found was that it wasn't the most efficient because you're always connected with the leasing office, the leasing
gatekeeper.
agents. Exactly, and you need to be connected to the decision maker. And so for us, we found the best way to do that is cold email. 100% of our pipeline is cold outreach through LinkedIn, email. Of course, we do get some inbound as well, but everything is through cold outreach, targeting, upper level execs and property management companies. And so that's really where we generate a lot of our pipeline. Absolutely love cold outreach. I think that's the highest ROI channel that you could have. And so for us being early stage, it was just super easy for us to polish our messaging, get deep penetration in the market as well, because you're emailing a ton of people.
Yeah.
And also you just get great feedback. Even when it's a no, you can ask them, what are we missing?
Mm-hmm.
What's missing from our product? What's better about, the process you have? And so it led to a lot of conversations for product discovery.
It's very cool. There's a tech stack, I imagine. I can't imagine that you're sitting there doing it. Maybe some AI agents, maybe a platform. What does that kind of look like?
So we do have a kind of a cold email system. So we do a lot of lead generation through other channels. Like there's a lot of real estate databases that help us out. But of course, we do just do keyword searches on LinkedIn. That helps a lot. And also just Apollo. I think just a lead database is very helpful. And then we put all that through a cold email system, an enrichment system through AirScale. It enriches all of it. We search for intent signals around hiring, expansion, maybe keywords that they're saying on their LinkedIn as well. And so from there, we gauge the intent, put them in different buckets, and send out those cold emails from there.
Okay, and then those cold emails going through Apollo or like a Lemlist or something out there?
So we use +5. We were using Instantly. +5 is just kind of like a cheaper alternative.
I haven't heard of that one. I'm going to have to go look at it.
Definitely. It's really good for lead generation. We like their enrichment features that they have more than Instantly.
Okay, more affordable. I always like that.
Yeah, exactly.
I imagine maybe a little bit of startup there, but cold email. Did you buy like a bunch of domains to set that up, or like?
Yeah, so we have over, I want to say 8 domains, like around 24 emails. And so we do rotate those pretty frequently. And so we're always warming them up, always have subdomains. So we use like Zapmail for our infrastructure. Yeah. And so that's really how we kind of scale that side.
Okay, I'm super impressed with that because it took me maybe 3-4 years to figure out and get to like a really good state like that. A lot of my outreach is cold too. How did you get to that? How did you learn it? Like where did that knowledge come from? You're pretty early out of college and way smarter than I am, but that's an impressive like scale and process build out that you've done. Yeah,
so at first what we would do was just find 50 to 100 accounts that we think would do good on our platform. Then it was manual cold emails from me to probably the top 3 to 5 decision makers at that company. That really helped us dial in like our messaging. And then from there, when we really wanted to scale up our sending volume, we invested in Instantly. And they have a really good cold email accelerator that helped us like kind of learn the ropes around, enrichment, lead databases and things like that. But I also look a lot at agencies. I think for founders, I think agencies have some of the best sales motions. And I think I always look at other businesses and see what I could take to make us more successful. And so looking at agencies' tech stacks helped us a lot. Instantly has a lot. Smart Lead has a lot as well. And so just looking at kind of what those companies are doing to succeed at scale really helped us kind of mold our system.
It's a really interesting take on that agencies have a really good sales motion. Like I run an agency and I don't think anybody's ever complimented an agency like for anything. So thinking about it like that, like you took essentially another system, emulated into your business. Like, is there any other things that you're looking out there? Because you are forging a new kind of category for the rental market. Like, how are you finding other companies to emulate now?
Yeah, so it's a lot of A/B testing. Everything we do now is just A/B testing around our messaging, our core value prop. And I think that's important for us at scale too, because you do kind of see what will convert when you start pouring money in paid ads and everything like that. And so for us, it's a lot of A/B testing, like the smallest words, spin tax as well, different subject lines we're testing. And so it's a lot of tests also around like intent signals, seeing what converts higher and stuff like that. So now it's really like we have our foundation. Now it's kind of how can we apply it more to what we're seeing in our actual business. So a lot of what we look at is how users are, saying no to our cold emails. So is it around our messaging? Is it us saying something wrong? Is it they already have a tool in place? And so that's kind of how we kind of tweak a lot of that messaging as we're moving through our motion.
I love that the marketing is feeding the actual product too. I think you essentially have a really big feedback loop from the no's and the yeses. How are you filtering that? Because I hear a lot of people like, hey, if they don't want my product, I don't care about them. Like,
yeah, I always see, and I worked a lot in sales too, so rejection is just part of it. And so I look a lot at like, even when you get a no, can you learn from it? That holds the same as in a demo. If they tell you no, why is it a no? Our advisors always tell us the 5 whys. You need to dig deeper into as to why it's a no, and fix that. And so,
I haven't heard the 5 whys before.
Yeah,
I've heard it, but like, what is?
So
it?
just constantly digging deeper.
Okay.
Why is it a no? Once they give you that issue, well then why is that an issue?
Okay.
And then just keep on dialing in deeper and deeper till you get to really the core problem, and then you can kind of fix that through releasing a new feature or maybe selling them on a different way on how to use your product.
So oftentimes like the classic, well, this is my boss. Okay, like why does it have to go to your boss? Like, is there an amount?
Yeah,
stuff like
exactly.
that?
Is it a budgeting issue? Is it kind of us having too many enterprise features in place? Maybe they have to sign a contract or something like that. And so that's also what we look at. Property managers have a on-site budget as well. And so we always look at can we price into that budget so they don't even have to go to upper level management to get a yes or no. And so, yeah, always digging deeper. And then sometimes, that no might be the smallest issue, maybe one minor feature that you missed on the demo that you already have that you didn't highlight, or that's super quick to build that you could still easily sell them. And so for us, I never kind of leave it at just a no. I always find out why. Is it they have a better product in place, or is it something we're missing?
It sounds like a lot of fearlessness. Like,
oh yeah,
like there's no shame. Like, I think the best sales folks they've got a lack of shame to some capacity. They're like, they'll miss the cues of like get out, but they're also the nicest and friendliest people. So that's an interesting take on the whys and how it feeds that. Are you doing any other marketing out there? Is there SEO, PPC, like what?
A little bit of SEO. We do have like a blog and things like that, and now we're kind of working more on referrals. I look a lot at like Airbnb's referral strategy early on and how they were able to grow. And so how can we take like some of those consumer strategies and apply it to B2B in a very like enterprise heavy
Can make some Obama O's?
Excuse me?
Make some Obama O's? Remember that from the Airbnb one?
No, I don't.
So Airbnb story really cool is they were trying to raise their seed round, and it was like 2008, 2009 time, and they just couldn't raise any money. So they made this like fake cereal box. They were called Obama O's, and then the McCain something.
John McCain.
Yeah, and they raised like $30,000 that way. Like I like in a viral moment.
Yeah.
That's how they got to the next step, and kind of a cool fun story.
Yeah, and now Airbnb is one of the most successful travel companies, and back then, they were struggling to find the smallest bit
Everyone
of
was telling them no.
Exactly. Yeah, and so, always looking at strategies like that. Referrals is going to be a big part of our strategy. Also, just real estate's a relationship-driven business, and so we want to get out at conferences. That's going to be the next point for us, but they are pretty pricey, and we definitely want to have a strategy in place before we make those investments.
Okay, that's good that you're thinking through that. And yes, like the hard part of marketing is everything's quite pricey. I love the unscalable part of like cold email. You've scaled it a little bit. You've figured out the cold calling is there. The blog and stuff, like I'm kind of curious, like how are you writing stuff based on conversations? Like where is that content?
Yes, so it's through LinkedIn, through our website. It is mostly around the conversations I have with property managers and their pain points. So a lot of it is, how can you generate more leads for cheaper? Mm-hmm. And then kind of we look a lot at instantly. So relating kind of that problem, showing them how to solve that problem, but then slowly funneling them to our product, and they could solve this problem on our product.
Yeah, sales collateral,
exactly.
Essentially. Okay.
Exactly. And so that's what we look at as far as our blogs go. And of course, we do want to get into content, and that's going to be another massive part of that as well. But yeah.
Okay. Back to your experience. You got burned on an apartment. Like, this is a whole new industry for you. Like how did you learn all of this? Like was it a lot of trial and error? It sounds like that.
Yeah, it definitely was a lot of trial and error. I did wholesale real estate before. So my freshman year of college, I was cold calling pre-foreclosed homeowners, trying to get them out of their mortgage, essentially selling their home to a real estate investor. And so did a few deals. And so that really kind of opened the floodgates to real estate. And so I got interested in property management and in leasing through that. I definitely didn't have like any experience, wasn't building products in that space or anything like that, but definitely kind of learned the ropes. And then I'm also just constantly trying to learn from people. I always tell our users, like, of course, I like to be the expert on the tech side, but I'm not the property management expert. Yeah. Tell us exactly how it is so we could fix it. And so I'm constantly just trying to learn from our users and just trying to be a sponge, essentially.
Out of all the conversations I had, I think that is like a through line, is be as a sponge as possible.
Exactly.
You exceptionally impressive, like so far. The conferences, what do those look like for you? Like, are you thinking booths? Are you thinking maybe like a gorilla? Like I've seen some people go and be like, hey, you want socks, and walk around. Like, what is your thoughts on that?
So as much as we do want to be do want to have that guerrilla style marketing, sometimes that doesn't go the best at these conferences. They'll end up like kicking you out or something like that. And so ideally it would be a booth. And so that's going to be a large part of our strategy, because I think just getting in front of decision makers is a massive part of what people need to be doing in real estate. And, we're early stage right now, so we haven't had the most opportunity to be able to do that, but that's a massive focus. Like getting my co-founder in front of these property management companies to spread what we're working on, our mission. And so, a booth is definitely going to be where we want to be at some of the smaller conferences. And then, of course, at those bigger ones, we're definitely probably just going to piggyback on another bigger vendor and see what we could do.
And then on those referral parts, and I'm jumping around a little bit, the referrals, is that more like a partnership program, or are you thinking it's more like an actual referral, like one leasing agent refers another one, or is it more like, hey, big real estate, conglomerate has 200 locations, and you want to partnership to them where they make the money?
So more so from property management company to property management company. Okay. And so getting that referral, incentivizing them on their subscription or other ways to incentivize them as well. As far as like expanding through their portfolio, that's a little bit of what we do right now. It's like a land and expand strategy. So being in real estate, it's a trust-driven business. You're probably never going to sell the person on their entire portfolio on day one. Yeah. And so it's always getting one property, two properties, testing it out for 2 weeks, letting the results speak for themselves, and then trying to expand to the rest of their portfolio. And so for expanding through the portfolio, it's land and expand, just proving through results. And then, of course, expanding to other property management companies is that referral strategy.
Those results, what do they look like for somebody? Is it like an ROI, or is it time? Like, how do you?
Yeah, definitely ROI, NOI as well. Closed leases is kind of what we want to show. I think tours is big. It's a big metric, but I think nothing speaks bigger than actual converted deals, and that's always kind of what we're looking to do. I think obviously we're looking to convert tours, but at the end of the day, if those tours aren't converting, we're not doing the best job at qualifying those leads anyway. And so we always look for actual lease conversions, lead to lease times, lead response times, and kind of showing the benefits that they're seeing with our platform.
Okay, and then it's AI agents essentially. Like if I went on an apartment and they were using RentBamboo, what would that experience on my side be like?
Yeah, so instead of receiving one of those annoying templates saying wait for a leasing agent to get back to you, it's all dynamic. So whatever you're saying, if you're coming in from Zillow asking about the pet policy, the application process, scheduling the tour, we're going to be able to fulfill all of that information to you. Of course, within 5 minutes, schedule your tour, send that application, or of course, if the management company needs to qualify you a little bit more, of course, we're going to answer your email, qualify you, schedule you a tour, and stuff like that. And so essentially for the renter, we're giving them their answers up front. We're not letting them wait for people. They could, of course, find out all of the information that they need so they can make their decision, either schedule a tour, lease that property, or move on to the next.
Okay, I really like that, because oftentimes when you go to an apartment, you get hit with somebody will reach out 3 days later, you're like, I'm like fully down a path with somebody else. Like it really is speed to lead.
Yeah, it's so frustrating because now it's gotten so bad where Zillow will send the renter an email to follow up. When reality, that's the property management company's job, is to follow up with the renter. Why should the renter have to go out their way to follow up with you to live at your place? You should be earning their business and reaching out to them. And so I just think the industry's broken in a lot of ways, but we're looking to solve that.
I like that. Co-founder, how did you guys meet? Was that at college? Was it something else?
So Axel, he's only a year younger than me, and so I definitely got lucky there. So we met on the Y Combinator co-founder platform. Got super lucky that he was local as well. And so he reached out to me. I kind of put on there non-technical founder, really mad that I got scammed for an apartment, looking for a better way to kind of build this out. And then he reached out to me essentially saying like, if you're not wanting to build, a unicorn, we shouldn't work together. And I was like, well, I'm pretty ambitious myself, so let's take a jab at it. So been working together ever since.
The egos are always like, they're good and bad in there, but I love when people are like, yes, this is what I want to build. And, if you hit $100 million and you don't quite get that, you're still like happy in the end.
Exactly. And with Axel, through our marketplace, when we were seeing very little traction, we were still sticking together as a team, shipping every day, figuring out what's working, what's not working. And so, we've been through the lows and couldn't ask for anybody better on my team.
So are both of you guys full-time? Do you work? Like what's the situation?
We're both full-time on the product. We work like day and night on it, trying to make sure, all of our users have everything they need. And so, we're completely full-time. And then we just brought on a founding engineer from UTSA, our first hire. Okay,
very cool. I assume you guys have like what I guess you define as like product market fit, PMF, a little bit, or where is that?
Yeah, I never like to say product market fit when we're not scaling, but I will say I think given that we have a very vertical play, I think we kind of know exactly who we want to target. And companies, leasing CRMs exist. We're just kind of a new version of it, and so this market is already there. Real estate is a massive opportunity, and so we believe there's a lot of opportunity there.
Okay, those competitors, are they doing any of the similar features or anything? Like how stiff is the competition?
Yeah, so the biggest competitor in the space is lease.ai. They just raised over $250 million, and so they've been around for about 8 to 10 years, and so they're focused on the enterprise scene. And so Graystars, RPM Living, those guys with over 20, 30,000 units, that's where lease.ai lives. They have a very, very similar product suite at the enterprise level. But for us, we're focused on giving middle market and smaller operators the tools to scale. We feel like there's nothing for them between those smaller landlord tools like ShowMojo and smaller property management tools, and then, lease.ai, Funnel, your more enterprise leasing solutions. We feel like there's nothing for middle market property management outside their CRM, and, that's going to be RentBamboo.
Okay, so you're looking at maybe like, somebody with 20 to a couple hundred doors.
So we're looking for the middle market and property management. It's roughly between 1,000 to 10,000 units.
Okay. So somebody that's probably a real estate investment group, some capacity that's growing and scaling.
About 30 to 100 employees.
Okay. And you've got the big competitor on the enterprise side. You're competing in that middle market, which I think is interesting. Do you have competitors there?
So we don't have really a direct competitor making a sole leasing CRM. We, of course, always compete roughly with the PM system. So that's going to be their big data set. Sometimes they'll have a leasing CRM in place. But, we believe, our agentic solutions that is layered behind our CRM is really what sets us apart. And so it's always some competition there on the PM side. But other than that, it's, a really wide open market.
Okay, I have like a couple more questions. Like one of them is AI. It's super expensive. Like, is that affecting profit margins, or how are you guys dealing with that?
Yeah, so our AI costs aren't the highest, and so for us, it hasn't been a big issue. We've always been told to be cautious around like credit inflation.
Yes.
And things like that. But AI cost hasn't really been a massive issue for us. I mean, we spend a very minimal amount on testing and our users right now. The biggest cost for us is Twilio and SMS. And so and I guess you can kind of work that in the actual AI cost as well, but the actual sending of the text of the phone call is kind of what makes the platform a little bit expensive.
Okay, that's good. I've been hearing a lot of the token inflation. People, it used to be like the conversation of cloud was eating everybody's lunch, and then they kind of got cost optimization. The same thing's happening on AI.
And I do think like a lot of the bigger models are so subsidized and invested in by the government. I think it is definitely driving prices down. I don't think it's going to stay like that long term.
I can hope.
Yeah, definitely. And for us, we're hopeful that it will.
It's a free ride.
Exactly. And, the more competition that comes about with these models, the cheaper they're going to have to make their prices as well. But I don't see a world where they 2x, 3x pricing. And so I think we're just fine there.
Okay. And then last to the AI parts is, are you using it a bunch in the content, the marketing game, the sales game? Like, I can't imagine you're buying Gong, but like, do you use like a Fathom, take those transcripts? Like, what does that look like?
So we do use Fathom to kind of go through our calls. We do use like AI personalization for cold emails. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's a very fine line on when you can use it, because sometimes it'll refer to something completely random on their LinkedIn.
Hallucination.
Exactly, and it has nothing to do with our product, and it just makes that cold email terrible. And so we're leveraging a lot on our sales process. Of course, just coding as well. Our team, we heavily leverage AI coding systems as well.
No OpenClaw, none of that. Like no agents running everything.
We definitely don't trust that. I think
okay. That's an interesting considering what your product is. To some extent.
So OpenClaw. I think the issue with OpenClaw is people give it free reign, and I think when you give AI free reign, it hallucinates and it does things you don't want it to do. And so for us, we haven't deployed OpenClaw at all, and we were looking at kind of a way to integrate it into our product, but again, we just want to make sure the security is perfect, and
that's the biggest part. Like Claude just launched Dispatch. Perplexity is called Computer.
Yeah,
they're all kind of going to the agent model, and I think as you talk about agencies in the next, I'd say even 2 to 3 years are going to be substantially different. It's going to be more agent-driven than human-driven.
Yeah, there's a agency right now on Twitter where they've reached like $4 million run rate in like 2 weeks, and it's an AI founder making like all these agency plays for a bunch of business owners. So I do think it's definitely going to look a lot different. But I think AI is only as good as the data you give it, and I think that's the bigger issue here, and especially in our business, is people have a false sense of hope when it comes to how AI is going to perform versus the data they have available. And so for us, it's how can we make that data and kind of feed it more efficiently to the AI to kind of have it actually automate these workflows, know more about their business. And so I think at scale, I think the biggest opportunity is probably who's going to make data the most accessible.
Okay. How can people find you on the internet? Like, is there a LinkedIn? Is it a website? Like, where do you want them going?
www.rentbamboo.com. They can also reach out to me on LinkedIn at Matthew Kanakidis. I always love talking anything regarding sales, startups, real estate, whatever it is. Just feel free to reach out.
Okay, very cool. Are you raising anything ask outside of that?
We are not raising right now. We're pretty locked in on kind of just building out the product, getting our early users successful. But if anybody did want to give RentBamboo a try, feel free to reach out. We're more than happy to get you started for free.
Cool. We'll put all those in the show notes, and really thank you so much for joining us, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it as well.